welcome back. This May, as we're wrapping up May, he is Director General of the OECS for 8 years, beginning in 2014. He's into his third term as the DG, as he's known by his peers and colleagues. And it's such a pleasure to have Dr. Didacus Jules with us this morning. Morning.
Nice to meet you, Carnival.
It's definitely great to meet you as well. Well, thank you so very much for coming in, first of all, and being here with us at Marnin SVG. I hope you find our accommodations pleasing.
Very pleasing.
You came into St. Vincent and the Grenadines because you're focusing on, well, there are two real reasons why you're here. And the first of which is the Blue Biodiversity Project, which is EU funded as well. At the center of that is the Queen Conch fishing industry. Why the Queen Conch, and what is this Blue Biodiversity Project all about?
Well, as you're aware, there are a number of marine delicacies that we traditionally have eaten in the Caribbean that are in danger of becoming extinct from overexploitation to varying degrees. You have the Queen Conch, you have sea egg, you have lobster. These are very, valuable delicacies on the global market. So we have looked at this and looked at the opportunities in what we call the blue economy and the need therefore to exploit that better. And we recognize that we have to do this in a manner that is sustainable. So we cannot just keep taking from the deep and not ensuring the replenishment and the restoration of the stock. The Queen Conch represents at the moment one of the most lucrative opportunities. St. Vincent exports several thousand tons of pounds of this every year. I noticed that we visited the rainforest operation here, and so we felt that this was an opportunity for us to really make full use of that and do so in a sustainable manner. What is critical about the meeting this week, and I heard you speak earlier in one of your earlier sessions about a public initiative, and you talked about the need for projects to trickle, the knowledge of these projects to trickle down. That is diametrically opposite to the approach we take in the OECS. We recognize that it's not a trickle-down thing. We have to take a co-creational approach to initiatives like this. So what we have done is start with doing a very deep survey with the support of CITES, which is the Convention on the Trade in Endangered Species. We involve UNCTAD and a number of other entities in doing this deep analysis of the state of conch in the Eastern Caribbean, looking at all aspects of it, from the gestation, the life cycle, what is involved in the growing of the conch, and also looking at the trade issues related to that. And we also involve the fisher folk themselves from the inception in this process, so that they are part of the co-creation team for this initiative.
How are these fisher folk involved? What's the nature of the involvement?
They've been consulted. The consultants who did the initial study went out with the fisher folk to actually on dives. They explored all aspects. They engaged with them to get from them what they perceive as the opportunities, what are the problems that they experience. And all of that has gone into designing and shaping the project. As a result of that, the project is not simply about how do we ensure the sustainability of the species by doing certain scientific work with propagation, but importantly too, it looks at all aspects. It's a sort of ecosystemic approach. We look at the health, the things that affect the fisher folk, the fact that people now have to go into deeper and deeper depths to dive for the lambi, and the danger it provides with being affected by bends. So we're looking at the health aspect, what provisions need to be made if in the event that people from coastal communities are affected by bends, how do we ensure each island has the facilities available So it's the health of the fisher folk, it's the market conditions, it's the propagation of the thing, it's abiding by the CITES convention so that CITES can certify that our conch is, tradable and all of that.
What kind of response have you gotten from them, the fisher folk?
Great response. They were part of the meeting. There's an association here. The president was there. We had fisher folk from other islands. We also had someone from Belize who's very involved in that trade in Belize. So,
what islands are a part of this project?
Eventually, it will involve all of the OECS member states, but the initial start of the thing will be St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia and Grenada, because at the moment the locus of the trade is in this cluster of these 3 islands. And the idea would be to begin by constructing a hatchery in Union Island, because Union Island sort of is at the center of this and can be a good point for dissemination of the hatchlings.
Hatchery in Union Island, expand on that a little bit, please.
Well, taking the egg of the conch and then growing it, it takes about 4 years gestation to full maturity. So the idea would be that we're going to have a facility near the sea where you can cultivate those eggs to a point of where they can be returned to the wild for growth, for full growth, and then resourced by the fishermen.
I didn't know conch came from eggs.
Yeah, you do.
I think most of our viewers don't know that either.
We started the process.
Like, where do they come from? All right, so they come from eggs. This meeting started on Friday. How did it go?
You mean the Blue Biotrade?
The Blue Biotrade.
Yeah, well,
meeting,
we
yes.
concluded already. It went very well. We have an action plan that was modified in the course of the meeting based on the feedback from all of the stakeholders present. And now it's a matter of moving as rapidly as possible. And we have to move on several fronts. In fact, already from the meeting itself, there were some benefits because there were certain impediments that Grenada faced on the CITES front, not being in full compliance. And right in the course of the meeting, the representative of CITES was able to be in touch with the head office and have some resolution. So already we're seeing the results, but we have to work on multiple fronts at the same time because first it's a matter of the greatest urgency. Now once we get that going successfully, I'm very confident. We expect them to look at other species like sea egg, the white sea urchin, lobster, what we do about that, and what we call Wigo in St. Lucia, the sea snail.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Wigo.
Wigo.
Yeah.
Okay. You spoke about the urgency with which we need to address these matters. What's the cost of not addressing these matters?
Serious cost. We will cripple our future in essence because many people are not aware that the maritime space owned by the OECS collectively is 85 times the size of our land space. And especially given what is happening now with the war in Ukraine, the danger it poses to food supply globally, a lot of the World Food Organization has predicted severe hunger down in the horizon if this conflict continues indefinitely. So we have to do something about that, and there's only so much that the land can provide us with. So we need to look at the sea and the use of its resources. And as immense as the sea appears to be, its resources are not limitless. And there are dangers that need to be, taken account of.
Speaking of limits to the resources, and you spoke about the hatchery in Union Island. First of all, are you planning to have more hatcheries, or
well, we are starting with that, and then we see how it goes as the demand increases. Yes, we are open to having hatcheries at strategic points. But as I said, it's not just about, we're starting with the queen conch, and we want to get that securely on the way. Once that happens, we will then have to make a determination. But the idea is a distributed presence of initiatives like that across the OECS. Now, Martinique and Guadeloupe are critical to this initiative because a lot of the below the radar trade happens, as Alex would have said to you, on the high seas. You have fishermen from St. Lucia and the other islands coming into the Grenadines purchasing conch, meeting their French counterparts in the channel and exchanging the conch and it being landed as French stock. It just shows that the reality is that regional integration is there with or without the state. But the point though is that if we want to really benefit optimally from that trade, we need to do it in a way that is in compliance with international conventions, that meets health standards, that meets the packaging standards. And in fact, there's more in it for us by following that road, because it means then that we would not just be exporting raw conch, we would be packaging it, vacuum sealing it. Conch products, I know in St. Vincent you have a couple of companies that are producing. We actually walk the talk, because in the seminar, the meals that were served were all packaged and produced by these companies. So
I didn't get an invitation to the seminar.
That's unfortunate. Next time.
I need to get my invitation next time.
Future events. Yeah.
And funding is provided by the EU.
The EU, the 11th EDF project, which we call the RIGHT project, has provided funding. So that was a very important input in getting things going. And we are confident that we can mobilize resources to get this done as speedily as possible. Because there is, people often think money is a problem, but I often say the problem is not money, it's imagination. And there are a lot of people out there who are very strong on conservation, who would like that kind of initiative. There are impact investors who would want to come on board with this. And the good thing about it is that we have the strongest political support around this initiative. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been doing some amazing things in terms of agriculture and food security. We rely on them in many ways to take the political lead, because the way we operate in the OECS, any member state that seems to be more advanced and proactive in any portfolio, we rely on them to take a lead for the political driving of the initiative.
And you see St. Vincent and the Grenadines as having taken the lead in
progress
food and
that made
agriculture.
in agriculture has been amazing. In other fields as well, but in agriculture in particular.
We're speaking with Dr. Didacus Jules, Director General of the OECS, and he is here. He came in for this Blue Biodiversity seminar, but he's also here for the Sustainable Ministers meeting. The Sustainable
Ministers
Development
of Environment.
Development meeting that's taking place tomorrow. It's beginning tomorrow.
It starts tomorrow, and it's going to be a 3-day meeting. It's going to be a very intensive meeting because we have a number of dignitaries coming in from across the world to participate in these meetings. As you know, the question of environment is really critical. There's a lot of potential there for us in terms of mobilization of resources in order to. The focus is on building resilience and safeguarding against disasters and addressing climate change challenges. So we're bringing in a whole range of actors, and in fact I want to use the opportunity to actually give you a sense of who some of these people will be, and I don't want to leave out any of them. So we have first and foremost Ambassador Diane Blacklane of Antigua and Barbuda. She's one of the leading voices in the Caribbean and champions around the climate change issue, because she's on the board of the Global Climate Fund. She's the chief negotiator for Antigua and Barbuda on the UNFCCC, and also Antigua has the chair of the Small States AOSIS, and they champion in the issue there. We have the director of UN ECLAC, Diane Qualis, coming. We have somebody from the NAACP, the National Coalition for the Association for the Advancement of Colored People in the US. And that person, Miss Catherine Egland, is in charge of the climate change and resilience advocacy program. So you can see the mix of technical and political expertise that is coming in, the international expertise. From the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Professor Carlton Waterhouse is coming. Then we have all of our ministers, including the Vice President of Guadeloupe, who's going to be there in person. We also have other entities such as the Nature Conservancy, the TNC, Melissa Garvey, who's one of the chief executive of that, and they've been very critical in mobilizing resources. They just mobilized 300 and something million US dollars for Belize around the protection of their reef. We have a representative from Goldman Sachs in the decarbonization group, Mr. John Elitero. And from the US Chamber, a global investor, Mr. Robert Agbede, who is a really big name in engineering in the US. And Robert, in fact, was a major participant in the Stronger Together campaign for St. Vincent and the Grenadines at the time of the volcano. So there's still opportunities there for partnership, for investment. In fact, at the time of the volcano, one of the things Robert was exploring, being he's on the board of the Engineering Hall of Fame in the US. They wanted to come into St. Vincent to look at the use of the volcanic ash in producing carbon neutral cement. But of course, events, the pace of events and so on,
yes.
And subsequent rains, a lot of the ash, the opportunity for mining, most of that ash has been lost, but it's still in. And we will be doing visits to a number of sites in St. Vincent and the Grenadines while the ministers are here on the last day. So that will provide an opportunity for identification of new project opportunities and investment opportunities by some of the persons who will be attending.
Hopefully we can hear from you at the end of it all.
Yeah, there will be a press conference at the end.
Well, we look forward to that. Thank you very much again for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure once again to meet you, and it's a pleasure to have you here in St. Vincent and Grenadines.
Sure, thank you.
All the best.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Dr. Didacus Jules will be back.